Well, hello, it's Angelo Caruso. I'm here with my good friend, Bob Thompson. How are you, Bob?
I'm terrific, Michael. How are you?
How can you not be terrific, man? You live in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, and today was kind of like one of those postcard days where we were wondering what the rest of the country was doing today. So, yes.
Well, I'm envious, but I won't be envious in January because we're coming down to see you guys, you and Anandi, and I can't wait. And although we want to give some people some content today about the topic of influence, how to have more of it, and how to use it for business purposes. Um, we also want to give people at the very end of this call a chance to know more about this event that we're doing together, and maybe even a chance to save some money on registration. But let's begin by talking a little bit about how you and I met and our history and our sordid past.
Yes.
What's your version? What do you
Oh my God, how much time do we have? Let's see. Well, I very, very well remember the first time I met you. You were speaking at my Rotary District Conference, and it was actually the first district conference I had ever attended.
Oh,
And I saw you speak, and I was captivated and moved and inspired. And I thought, hey, district conferences are pretty great. They got guys like this talking at them. So I remember introducing myself and offering up the photos I took because I was shooting that event as well. And that, as they say, is the beginning of a very long story. But that's what I remember in about 10 years ago, I think. Yep.
and that's about right from my point of view too. And since then, we've had a chance to work together, not only through Rotary, but also through our respective businesses.
Yep.
A bit of background for everybody watching the call that doesn't know Bob. He came up through, he's got just a lot of touch points. He's a veteran. He is a very talented photographer and also a very talented musician. And he's found a way to meld, MELD, his many talents into a speaking career. It's been a pleasure to be on the platform with him on a number of occasions. I'm sure there'll be a number more, including this event that we're doing in Tampa in January.
You bet.
And so I thought it would be fun to talk a little bit about some high points for attaining influence, how the people watching can attain influence and use it in their own world to either serve more people or build a better team or be more comfortable on the job or do what we do either in music or in speaking. And also, by the way, if you get better at helping people, you can make more money. We never talk about how to make more money as an ends to the means, as an end to the means. We just think, Bob, I think you would agree with me, that when you are able to help more people, you usually get up being compensated either monetarily or inside here, right, in the heart.
Right. And as a business person, the heart feels really great, but monetarily is pretty good too. And a very wise friend of mine once revealed to me that generally speaking, you are paid commensurate with the number of people that you are impacting.
You bet. I think that's an accurate statement. So let's figure out a way that we can help more people through the power of influence. So we're basically talking right now, I think, to leadership, salespeople, entrepreneurs. You and I have talked before about how entrepreneurs looking for venture capital, they sit across the desk from somebody and they're looking for $100,000 check when they walk out of the meeting. You've got to be influential. You've got to be able to tip that person's mindset toward you, helping you, and say, not the second guy that's coming in the door. You've had experience using influence both in photography, music, now speaking. How do you influence people in photography? You've told me this story a couple of times now about how surprisingly the people that are paying you for a photograph are sometimes not very cooperative, but it's not their fault.
Right. No, that is the phenomenon that I discovered that really kind of paved the way for some of the speaking and the things that I'm doing these days, because it was a particularly fateful afternoon where I was shooting a series of executive portraits for a really nice Fortune 500 company. And I made the observation that just about 2 out of 3, maybe between 2 out of 3 and 3 out of 4 people would say the most god-awful, horrible things about themselves as they walked up to my set. And I made the observation and realized I'd been listening to this all along during my career, and I got extremely infatuated with what is going on, such that people would do this behavior right in front of me. I mean, I've never met these people, yet they're telling me some of the most personal things they would ever say about themselves to anybody, and not much of it was good. So it got me investigating perhaps what's in the way in this simple process of being photographed. And really what I came to see was that people really have a tough time letting that guard down, being revealed for who perhaps they really are in the physical sense. And it really gets psychological quickly in the process of somebody aiming a giant Nikon at somebody's head, you know, and taking a simple headshot. So I began to develop a method for how to address this and how to successfully, in about 120 seconds, dismantle some of those barriers and get to a shot of who that person authentically is. So it's led to my really getting facile with this distinction of vulnerability and what that provides and what it costs us when we avoid it at all costs.
So before we find out the punchline here, which I don't think you mind sharing on this call, this technique that you have, because other people can adopt or adapt it. Let's review exactly where we are in the scenario.
Right.
You're photographing high-powered CEOs at a very high-ranking business or organization, and they get to the point where they're just about ready to have their portrait taken, which is a very personal kind of and permanent demonstration of who they are as a person. And they get loose with the lips and start talking to you about all kinds of things that they seem to be insecure about or not okay with, such as how they are with being photographed.
Well, honestly, Michael, it turns out that I've done a lot of research and almost everybody, and I would actually find it funny enough, I ask you the very same question, but it turns out that almost every human being has what I call a YPI, which is your personal issue, with something on their head, face, or body that gets in the way of their freedom of expression when in front of a camera. So that was really the first thing I learned, is that almost no matter who you are, you've got some little distinct thing that you see in a photo when you look at yourself that you only see, nobody else cares about, would ever notice in 100 years, but it's the thing that's the barrier on.
So what is it that you tell people once they've shown to you that they need to relax, and your job is to help them relax? What is this 120-second technique that you use that does the magic? It's something that you say, or is it how you say it, or both?
Well, quite honestly, I don't know that it's either of those. I would say, and to get a little, esoteric, I would say it's more of a way of being. I make it extremely safe for people, and I find as quickly as I possibly can something of comfort to say or share or even reveal about myself and my own relationship to being photographed that gives them just a little freedom and maybe a little relief from that tension that they, inherently feel at the beginning of the process. So, there are a number of places I sort of pull from in trying to create that safety in that very, very quick relationship that give people some freedom and the ability to relax a bit. And the other thing I'll tell people, and some people are better at it than others, but I'll say, listen, I'm going to take as many photographs as we need to here to get one that looks authentically like you. And I'm good no matter how this goes. How about you? Right? So that's probably that's as tough as it ever gets if I have to kind of say something like that. But, kind of like any salesperson or anybody in business, I'm pulling from 4 and 5 different things at any given moment to get where I'm going. But my objective is to give that person comfort and let them know that they're not alone. This is a human phenomenon. This is not just them, right?
I like it. And of course, it's not an easy thing to do, especially when people's emotions are at play. And this is really what influence is. I do a ton of sales training, and one thing that we know for sure from all the research is that most decisions that are made are not made with the rational part of the brain. They're made with the emotional part of the brain.
Right.
So, and that's where influence is. You have 2 options, and one may be a little bit cheaper or a little bit more expensive, but if you have a choice between 2 vendors, you're going to choose the one that you like. You're going to choose the one that somehow influenced you. Maybe he taught you something during the presentation, where the other guy was likable enough, but he didn't teach you anything.
Right.
And so there are dozens and dozens and dozens of ways to use this currency. I call it currency because
it's a good
because
word.
it actually helps people understand that you're the guy, you're the person, or whatever you're proposing is the option. It's option A. It's plan A, man, not plan B.
Right.
So you use it in photography. I use it when I'm doing sales coaching. Of course, both of us now doing speaking. It's the same thing when you get on a stage, which again, everybody talks about as if it's really easy to do. But being on a stage in front of a bunch of people, I saw you in front of 300 or 400 people last June, and you were masterful with your influence. And what was interesting to me, Bob, is that you're not heavy-handed about it. You have a way of just being yourself, which allows everybody else to feel comfortable. Is that an accurate approach to how you do business on stage?
I think that's an accurate representation of how I do business just about everywhere. And to further the point and maybe even reveal something behind that, I've spent probably $60,000 on getting myself to a place where I'm free enough to be that authentic in those scenarios. I'm telling you, this did not come.
I think it was Woody Allen that said, if you can't be sincere, you should fake it.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite lines. It's awesome.
So back to being on stage and back to this idea of authenticity, this is what influence really is. It's not, I think it's a trick, and I use the word trick in a funny way. You know, I say if you go to Las Vegas and you go to see Penn and Teller, the magicians, they'll do some tricks with you, but they never take advantage of you. You know, trick is not necessarily and shouldn't be ad hominem. A trick is a technique. It's an illusion. Magicians call it not distraction. What do they call it? Misdirection. Magicians call it misdirection. Is that I want you to focus on this, even though I might be a little nervous. I'm going to want you to focus on this so you don't see that I'm nervous.
Right.
Because everybody has issues. What was that acronym you used about issues, personal issues?
YPI. It was, yes.
Your personal issue. And so everybody has one, and most of us have multiples. And so the trick when you're using influence is to deflect away from whatever it is that's not working for you so that people focus on what is working. And of course, the longer you've been speaking, allegedly, it's not true for everybody, but the longer you've been speaking, the more tricks you have for doing this. Same thing for speaking, same thing for photography. And depending on what type of... Go ahead.
I interrupted you there. I apologize. But there's something else there for me that at play there. And I think it takes facility with dancing authentically in the moment, in any given moment, right? So in one regard, I like the word tricks. In another regard, I like the idea that you're simply dancing with what's in front of you. And you never know in any conversation what's going to come at you. But to have some facility with where to take something so that you're like, I mean, we're heading to the same place. I was just putting in a bit of a different nomenclature, I suppose, for it. But any great salesperson or influencer is going to have that innate ability to completely dance in the moment with whatever's going on and take it wherever it serves all involved. You know.
You bet. Yeah, and you know, people who are 30-something, 40-something, 50-something, they say to themselves, I imagine, I say this to myself too, I'm like, well, I've been on the planet for X number of years. I should be really good at influence. I shouldn't have to actually go to an event or take any training in this.
Right.
But the truth is that we're only influential to the point that it was cultivated in our own lives. If you've come from a string of jobs, for example, where nobody allowed you to cultivate influence, if you came from a home where it wasn't set up in your daily life, you know, by age 5, you missed it, man.
Yeah.
You've been playing catch up ever since. And what I've learned is that by hanging around with the right people, you can actually catch up. You can gain that lost ground back. One of my favorite sayings of all time, and I think it's John Maxwell, but I've never been able to actually prove it conclusively. Maxwell says, you are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Mm.
So if you spend the time with a lot of people who are affluent, you're probably on your way to becoming affluent.
Right.
Your best 5 friends are homeless, you're probably not, you know, you're not upwardly mobile. And the same thing is true for influence, right? If you hang around with people who have this figured out, you're probably borrowing from them, even in your subconscious.
That's a great point. It's a fantastic point. And frankly, when I kind of look back over my shoulder to see, what I've been up to recently and lately, I do what I can to surround myself with, if I may, people just like you, who always make sense and who are having a positive impact on people and who really walk their talk. So to the extent that I'm able to continually do that, as you said, I get lifted up as well. And it's pretty much a win-win. So that's a great.
Well, I get the same from you, which is why we're on the call today, which is why we're doing an event together in January called Activate. More on that in just a second. Bob, tell people where they can find out about you online. I think you do a lot of your photography work in the southeastern United States. Do you travel for that at all?
I do. I would say, not as much as I used to, but that surely does come up. But yeah, Southeast is generally where I roam. I'm at thompsonbrandimages.com is my primary photography website. I also have begun a new website, which these should consolidate before too long, but Thompson Event Partners is my new company that features some of the speaking and keynoting and entertaining that I do in the event market.
Is it thompsoneventpartners.com?
It is. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I can't wait to see it. You do such great work. And who are you getting to take the pictures for the site, the photographs?
Well, as it turns out, I have trained a young posse of fantastic young people that I hire to do that kind of work.
I'm just teasing, man. You're the best photographer I know.
Yeah. Oh, I thank you. Thank you. Probably met one or two.
Bob and I were having a glass of wine one night, and we started talking about how we could help more people. And we came up with like this little punch list of things. Like if we had people in a room with us, what kind of thing could we talk to them about? I have a short list here I want to share with you about things that you could use influence to do if you cared to. Motivate team members, present choices where everyone wins. This is what influential people do. Read people better and faster, particularly in the first 15 seconds. Sharpen your presentation skills, become more articulate, cope with challenging personalities. Who doesn't know some of those? Get new ways to leverage influence, get buy-in easier and faster, both at work and at home. Little caveat, this stuff does not work on teenagers.
I don't think anything does, right?
Do two things that would make you a recognized expert. I mean, that's a pretty valuable little punch list. And I'm pleased to tell everybody that we're doing an event together, January 25 through 27, called Activate, Leading and Selling with Influence. And we already have our first registration. It's actually a gentleman that's coming over from the United Kingdom, believe it or not. I don't know. I told you that earlier today, yeah?
Yeah. It's international right out of the gate, man. That's great.
And I love it because it just goes to show that everybody needs influence. It's not just the people in your city, it's small town. It's not just people in Michigan. People everywhere need influence. So it is specifically for leaders, salespeople, and entrepreneurs. But I mean, that's who we're telling about this. And Bob, we've got another little short list of things that people can get with the registration. Now, before we do this, I want to show you what you're going to be looking for online. And you can find this in Bob's social platform and mine. Try to get it there where it shows. And this is Activate, right? Activate, Leading and Selling with Influence. And it's there you see it's January 25th through 27 in Florida, in Tampa. And it's at the amazing Saddlebrook Resort, which is not too far from where Bob lives. And this is the avatar that you're looking for on our social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and of course it'll be on both of our websites. It's already there. I mean, you're going to see it when you go there. So here's what's included in the registration, January 25 through 27 now. If you register before November 30th, everybody, you get $300 off. That's like an early bird thing, which is our pleasure to do that for you. We want you to think about bringing your team or bringing your spouse. Bob, it has occurred to me that power couples would be really do well to attend this event. There are so many people in what we call lifestyle business right now. Renee and I are like that, right? So everywhere I go, Renee Prothetis travels with me. She loves the road. She loves the gigs. And it turns out she's very helpful. And so this is a lifestyle business for us. And when we register for stuff, we register 2 at a time. I know you and Anandi feel that way about much of what you do together.
Right.
And so we've set up a few things. And now the first thing is this 30-minute webinar that we're doing for you tonight so that you can learn more about the content, get to know Bob and me if you care to before the event. We're doing a welcome reception that Thursday evening. We have welcome gifts worth several $100s, including some of my information products. And I think, Bob, you're going to have a way that people can do business with you. It's going to be incentivize them to check out your services down the road.
Indeed, I will. Yes.
Great. We have well over a dozen hours of compelling, practical content, dozens of strategies, hundreds of tips for improving your influence. And we're also going to feed you a few times during this weekend retreat. We know that a lot of people are going to be coming down early and leaving late so that they can do what we call a vacation with purpose. You will not be doing this because you live in Tampa. I'm sorry.
I live on vacation. It's
That's
all good.
right. When you live with palm trees, you don't get that opportunity like we do.
Right.
We're also doing a webinar after the fact to celebrate success and follow up with you to make sure that things are going the way they should for you. I don't know about you, Bob, but when I have a customer, I like to think of them as they're a customer as long as they want to stay with me.
Right.
And so we'll be doing another webinar, and only next time it'll have all of these different faces on it, right? Like the Brady Bunch on this Zoom call. And it'll be the people that attended the event with us, and you're going to see them smiling because we're going to show them some tricks for improving influence in their lives. What do you think? What are you looking forward to the most with this event? Anything in particular?
Well, for your accolades of my speaking career, I very much look forward to getting on a stage and sharing from like kind of the inside corners of my career, the things that I've learned over the course of 25 years that actually do influence people and give people a different way to be in any given situation. So quite honestly, I'm chomping at the bit to get up there and have these conversations and interactions with people who I know can benefit from some of the stuff you and I have been through. You know, as they say, it's not our first rodeo. We've done a thing or two over the years. And then honestly, Michael, I'm thrilled to be working with you side by side as partners to create this impact. You know, I'm not going to be shy about that. It's going to be great to share a stage with you toward the end of making a difference in people's careers and in their lives.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It'll be great to be with you and Anandi. By the way, one of the things that happens, and we can't really talk about this definitively in advance of the event because we don't know the combination of people that are coming. But I promise you are going to be knocked out by the quality of people that show interest in this type of an event. These are people that are up-and-comers. They care deeply about their profession. They're passionate about what they do. And we don't do a talking head thing at these events. We all get to know each other and everybody shares. You know, I can learn from attendees in the same way attendees can learn from me. And I think by the, hour number 2 or 3, we start to really gel and complement each other. Not compliment in the way that we've been complimenting each other, but complement with ease.
Right.
Where we bounce off of each other and we can trade ideas and embellish each other's ideas. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the thing. Any program I've ever done where I've gone to learn anything close to this kind of content, I've learned as much from the people around me in the room as I have from the person in front of the room. And I'm pretty sure that's a dynamic we've all experienced at some point, but that is really where the magic happens, so to speak. The content will be solid and it will deliver on its promise. But I promise that you'll get as much out of being with the people who are going to be there as you will from anybody on stage. And that's what makes these things fantastic.
Well done. I can't wait. Let's make it simple for people to sign up. Of course, we want you to connect with us on social. And you may be viewing this video on YouTube or on Facebook, but eventually you're going to have to register. And to register, why don't you just go for now, just to keep it simple, Bob, and we want them to visit you at thompsonbrandimages.com, yes?
Yes, sir. Yep.
But go to my site, michaelangelocaruso.com, and you'll see very prominently displayed in the banner that creeps across the top, you'll find the Activate link. and we'll get you registered right away. And of course, if you want to bring somebody down, the second person gets in for a lesser price than the initial person. So you can split that difference if you want, divide the expenses that way. I expect we'll see some sales teams come down with their entire roster, which is fine with me. So we'll see business partners, power couples, business teams, solo entrepreneurs, and apparently a guy from England.
That pretty much covers it, right? Yes.
Very good. Bob, it's a pleasure to be with you again. You're going to bring your guitar to this event?
I usually bring it pretty much everywhere I go. So yeah, if I were a betting man, I'd say yeah.
I hope you do. I enjoyed that. We sang together on stage at one of the events we did. These Saddlebrook Resort, they have fire pits outside, and of course we go out to the pool at night with something to eat or drink, and we have the acoustic guitar, and it's just a blast. It's so much fun. It's so different than most of the classroom type events, these old school seminar things that people are still doing. I just think people will get a real kick out of the way we roll at January 25 through 27 in Tampa.
Well said. I can't add much to that. That sounds great, Mike.
Well, we hope we've given you both some content and enough reason to go to michaelangelocaruso.com and sign up for the event. We hope to see you in Tampa. Bob Thompson, it's a pleasure to be with you again. Thank you very much for sharing a few minutes with us.
Oh, you're welcome, Michael. Thanks for having me. I can't wait, man.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right. Cheers.